Tied up, blindfolded, and gagged is good. Her legs would not be tied, however. Wide open, I would think. My face would be right there eating lunch.
I don't like that.
Is this a specific request or you
Was not a specific request.
Oh, it's Christy. That's her on the Discord, right? Oh, it's Christy.
What up, Christy?
Surprise shots. Surprise shots. We don't know what they are because they're a surprise.
Oh. So from the Shawcross letters, I have used a machete on a few.
Can I just make
A machete
one
on a
thing really
few?
clear? So he's saying eating pee.
Like eating sushi, eating.
But this is
eating raw
not
fish.
This is not fellatio on a dead person. He is consuming this as a cannibal. Correct.
He's eating lunch, dude.
Okay, I just want us to be clear on the terminology.
No, I understand because
We just had a whole conversation on pimento cheese, and you're gonna fault this guy for eating lunch?
I want to know the semantics that he is not eating in a terminology. He is like physically consuming this as a cannibal.
It's like a Lunchable.
I have used a machete on few. Head comes right off. Vietnam will do that to you. All right, let's get started.
All right, this is going to be interesting because my father is a Vietnam veteran. So, I mean, like, it'll be interesting. So, like, I just want to say
they all had it easy.
No. I want to say to all Vietnam vets listening, if you are, welcome home. Because no one says that to you. Welcome home, Vietnam vets. Now let's listen to John's story.
From Arthur Shawcross's psychiatric interview, Vietnam turned country boy into a crazy, I tortured people over there, cut 2 heads off. I took a lot of ears off. The Vietnamese ears, we'd always cut off the left ear.
Like Pilate. I mean, not like Pilate, like Peter, like Jesus, like the Garden of Gethsemane. I've been listening to a lot of Jesus Christ Superstar.
We'd string them and dry them and cut their hair in a mohawk and string bone teeth or ear on one of these little amulets.
A couple things we do know. Arthur Shawcross was in Vietnam. We do know that.
Mm-hmm.
We do know that he did sustain an injury to his shoulder. He was shot.
Okay.
A bullet.
Okay. One.
He says a lot of stories over there. No one can verify stories. However, the psychiatrists do say that these stories that he's going to say were also the same stories of multiple other Vietnam vets coming back.
Okay.
Right? They all have had these same experiences.
Mm-hmm.
He did say that the Viet Cong were scared of him. He was like a predator. We do know that Shawcross had high levels of lead in his system, unusually high. He was at the point when they tested him after he was arrested for killing 17 prostitutes as having lead poisoning at that time. He was lead poisoned when he came back, and he has been lead poisoned because he didn't kill any prostitutes with a firearm, or he wasn't exposed to any lead. So we know that he was lead poisoned the entire time, which causes hallucinations, which causes violent outbursts. There's a whole thing about lead. The same reason you don't eat lead paint chips, you don't have lead in your house.
I'm not eating it by Frito-Lay lead paint chips.
No, I'm saying, like, when you're a kid, you just eat a couple paint. The paint comes off, you eat a little bit, like you.
No! Who the fuck does that?
Did you eat a lot of paint chips when you were a kid? Why?
I like Cape Cod potato chips, however, are the best.
I love the dark russet ones are the best.
Listen, lead poisoning, headaches, stomach cramps, trouble sleeping, fatigue, irritability, loss of sex drive, and in severe cases, hallucinations. In a recent study from 2017,
So would I be lead poison?
lead links, especially in childhood, increases crime rate in cases like in Flint, Michigan. Kids are growing up with lead, and that is a very violent city. I'm not saying this causes them to be violent, but it does not help. It actually increases the chance of them being violent. What did Arthur Shawcross do overseas in Vietnam? He was the ammo carrier. He would transport ammo all across Vietnam, all across these different outposts to different soldiers. He would carry up ammo cans. He lived with ammo cans. That's all he had. He worked by himself. He was just the solitary guy who was unsupervised delivering ammo. He would eat his soup out of ammo cans. He would drink his water out of ammo cans. All made with lead, and that causes hallucinations. That's all I'm trying to say. All right. Not to mention Agent Orange, which I don't really know a lot about Agent Orange. I know it was some chemical that caused all kinds of trouble, but I didn't go into that specifically, but we're not going to mention that. I just wanted to add that in there. In Vietnam, he considered himself a predator. Now, this is where he says that he became a serial killer. This is before any of the murders here. And in the next episode, we'll talk about his childhood, which was not very good. Surprise, surprise, a serial killer having a bad childhood. But in his time in Vietnam, he says he became a serial killer and a predator. He had this thing where he would take these, think of a baby bottle, right? You have a baby bottle.
Baby bottle pops.
And
baby bottle pops.
On the lid is a nipple, right? And I did look this up. This does work. You take the nipple off the baby bottles and you put it on your M16, on the barrel of the M16, and it acts as a silencer or a suppressor. I thought to myself, yeah, okay, that's not correct. But I did see videos of people doing it, and it does act like a suppressor, which is crazy. So he found out this thing. I don't know how, but he started ordering all these baby bottle nipples to his camp. And then he would go out and hunt these Viet Cong by putting these baby bottle nipples on the end of his M16 rifle.
Just the nip?
Just the nipples. And it would silence it. And I did see there is a video of a guy doing the same thing, but using a Twinkie, a Twinkie. And it does work. Twinkie as a suppressor right here. It does work. It is silent when you shoot through something like that. That is a big deal, because that means he can sneak around and kill as many people as he wants without anyone knowing, because it's silent. Okay. That's a big thing. Now, we don't know how many people he's killed, or even if he's killed anyone at all. But I'm telling you right now, the story today that we're covering, I want to start with the Vietnam experience. And his was, I wouldn't say traumatic, but his was very exciting for him. All right. Can you read, Nicole, his own words about his first kill in Vietnam? This is the serial killer's first ever taste of blood. You remember the episode we did with Joe Sargent and his first kill? This is that same thing. The first time he's actually seeing someone die at the hands of himself. He's actually killing someone. This is molding him into what he's going to become, which was a slayer of women, at least 17, within a 2-year period.
I went down into a valley and I seen a woman down there, and I shot her and dragged her up on the side of a hill where she wasn't dead yet. I tied her to a tree where I made a little camp, and she was putting an AK-47 in a tree.
Hold on a second. 1 second. This is his first experience in Vietnam with killing a woman. Now, which a lot of the Vietnam fighters did, was hide AK-47s, ammo, explosives, anything that, any ordnance they have into trees, they would hollow them out and then hide all of that stuff in there. So that's what she was doing. And he came across this random woman doing that.
Mm-hmm. So what years was he in Vietnam for? Do we know?
I don't know, Jim. What years was Vietnam, the war?
Well, it started in the 60s and ended in the 70s.
What year?
I don't fucking know. My dad was there from 1978 to
1978? I thought you said it started in the 60s.
Well, it did, but my dad was there in 78. I don't fucking know.
He was there in
listen,
78?
my dad was there in 78.
Was he lost?
No.
I'm just kidding.
My father is a bronze star.
I'm just kidding with you, Jen. Shit.
He was awarded a bronze star.
Jen, this was
and a Distinguished Flying Cross. My father is
That's
a war
amazing.
hero. He has been through a lot more than a lot of people, but also maybe not more than most. I don't know. My dad, he is an American soldier. He was a captain. He did a lot of good.
He was a captain or a warrant officer?
My dad was a captain.
A captain flying Hueys?
Yes. My dad was his army rank was captain. But my grandfather got sick. He would have been, he was just about to be promoted as a major. He was not, because he honorably discharged because my grandfather was sick with cancer. But my father, he left as a captain. He was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross as a helicopter pilot.
It's amazing.
So
thank you, Dad.
So for Arthur Shawcross, the first murder War, we know, was which we're about to talk about, was in 1978. Or excuse me, 1972. So this was probably in 1970 to 1971.
Oh, my dad was there probably.
What Nicole is reading right now. So Arthur Shawcross, his job as an enlisted man, so a private through a sergeant, I don't know what rank he got, but his job was to transport ammunition to all the forward operating bases in Vietnam.
I tied her to a tree where I made a little camp, and she was putting an AK-47 in a tree. I went down. There was a big hollow tree, all kinds of rifles in there, ammunition there, and they had a little footpath going up there into the woods. I went there and found a couple of huts up on stilts, and so I'm standing there, and they got a little ladder going into one, and I hear somebody in there, and I tap on the side of the hooch, and a girl comes out. I tie her up the walk and walk her back up and tied her to the tree next to the other girl inside the hut in which they were living. Underneath, the hut had all kinds of food, rice, and ammunition.
Okay, hold on a second. Arthur Shawcross is saying that he came across an older female who was trying to hide weapons in a tree. And this was during one of his night missions. He claims that he would go out by himself and hunt down Viet Cong like a predator.
Mm-hmm.
He would put these baby bottle nipples on the end of his M16 to silence them, and he would go out and hunt by himself. He came across an older female who was trying to hide weapons, and then he tied her up. Then he goes into their huts, which is like this hut, this mud hut, but it's like built with these grasses. These what do you call it? Like
palms,
bamboo, wheat grasses, or whatever. These huts. He found a little girl in there, and that's where we are right now. So go ahead. I'm just trying to get everyone on the same page. So.
Gotcha.
I went up in there and found a couple of huts on stilts. And so I am into one, and I hear somebody in there, and I tap on the side of the hooch, and a girl comes out. I tie her up and walk her back up and tied her to the tree next to that other girl inside the hut where they were living. Underneath, the hut was all kinds of food, rice, ammunition. They are the enemy. I get up there and I cut one. I cut her throat. I took her head off. Sometimes Vietnamese are superstitious. I put her head on a pipe, like a fence post where the rifles are. I shoved it in the mud. I went back up there. It wasn't just me no more. I'd never done anything like that in my life. I took one woman's leg off from the hip to the knee, the ham section of the body, and roasted it on a fire.
What the fuck?
It didn't smell too good, but when it about burnt, I began to eat some of it.
What?
This experience that he is sharing was also shared by many other American soldiers in that military conflict of Vietnam. Okay, think about it. Agent Orange, lead poisoning, hallucinations. If you're hallucinating and you come across some Viet Cong, a lot of the American soldiers coming back also shared similar experiences to this. We trained them to think that the Vietnamese were evil. They were practicing witchcraft. They were the devils. They were trying to take over America. We train these soldiers to do this. They get over there. Then they find themselves eating and cannibalizing and mutilating and raping these people. It all comes with the same territory. This is the same story in every war. I can promise you that.
So the enemy is disposable, essentially.
Exactly. Let's say you're just going to do a random shoot in the military.
Okay.
What are you shooting? You're shooting a target. That target is wearing a turban. Does that make sense? You were trained. You were ingrained. It is forced into your head that whoever you're fighting now, whoever America is in conflict with, is the enemy, and they are going to try to destroy America. Same with Vietnam. Exact same.
I feel like I need to ask my dad, but I also don't want to know. Like I do, but I don't. That's like really upsetting.
I mean, I would say too, though, a pilot's position of war is very different from someone that's
an infantryman. Yeah, but I feel like
Yeah, because your dad didn't like behead anyone or rape them.
I would hope not.
No, I don't think you need to worry.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll get shot at. Their Chinooks or Hueys will get shot up, but they're still in the air unless they crash land, and then there would be POWs or something. So your dad, his traumatic experiences are probably from his helicopter being shot up, being shot at, stuff like that. It's not from cannibalizing locals, which, you know, I am extremely effing fucking lucky that no team I was supporting over there had thought about doing any of this shit. There was no rape. There's no mass rape. None of the teams I was with raped anyone, and that went on over there a lot, right?
Sure.
And I've seen torture sessions. That was probably the worst, the torture sessions, because that shit is like ingrained in war. Like no matter what fucking war, go back like before Christ, all those wars, violence and rape, it is like the same fucking thing.
I went back up there. I wasn't just me no more. I'd never done anything like that in my life. I took that woman's leg off from the hip to the knee, the ham section of the body, and roasted it on a fire. Didn't smell too good. But when it about burned, I began to eat some of it. Eating flesh cooked over a fire tasted like pork, like monkey.
He would put the body on an anthill because why? Take a guess why. Why would you put someone's severed head on an anthill?
Because the ants are going to crawl over your fucking face and bite your fucking face.
While I'm sitting there cooking the one, the other girl watching me passes out and is peeing on herself. Then I raped her, but first I gave her oral sex.
Well, hold on a second. 1 second. He is saying right now that he found this woman hiding weapons, cut this woman's head off.
What?
Put this woman's head on an anthill. The reason he did that is because the ants would consume the head and, effectively leaving no evidence. And I would imagine the daughter or whoever the smaller child was, who he's talking about now, who we also found in the hut, he brought and tied up. Now that she's tied up, he's going to rape her. And he's talking about how she's, peeing herself and defecating on herself. And he's talking about his real life experiences raping this child in Vietnam. Go ahead.
While I'm sitting there cooking the one, the other girl watching me passes out and is peeing on herself. Then I raped her, but first I gave her oral sex. She couldn't understand what it was I was doing, but her body did. I untied her, and then I retied her to other small trees. Afterward, I ate some more, then sat sharpening my knife and watching her. She fainted several times. I cut her slightly from her neck to her crotch. She pulled on a nipple, then pulled the gun to her forehead and pulled the trigger.
All right, so the nipple being on the end of his M16, the baby bottle nipple.
All right.
So he is cooking what we would say is her mother on a fire, eating her while this daughter's tied up, watching this, passing out multiple times, peeing herself, just passing out because of the horror of the situation. And then she finally, the daughter, she's getting raped. He puts this M16 up to her head. She pulls off this baby bottle nipple to make it sure that he's going to kill her. She wants to die. That's basically what we're reading here, right?
I don't like that at all. So she kills herself, essentially, while he's cooking her mother.
And eating her mother.
She couldn't understand what I was doing, but her body did. I untied her, then retied her to two other small trees. Afterward, I ate some more.
You already read this.
Then sat sharpening my knife and slightly watching her. She fainted several times, and I cut her slightly from her neck to her crotch. She screamed and shit herself. I took out my M16, pulled on a nipple, then pulled the gun to her forehead and pulled the trigger. Finally, I cut her head off and put it on another stick where the head off and the hose was. It was where the NVA got water. I took that girl, I strung her up by her feet and butchered her just like I would a cow.
All right, so the NVA is the North Vietnamese army. That's who we were fighting over there. So basically, he tied this little girl up while she was watching him eat her mother. He raped this little girl and eventually killed her, cut her head off, and then put the head on an anthill because the ants would consume the rest of the meat. I guess pretty bad, right? But why oral sex? You just read that there. I performed oral sex on her, but she didn't know what it was, but her body did. Why is every one of these victims, why do they receive oral sex? That is so important with this guy.
Why?
It's so important.
Just tell us.
Yeah, I don't want to know. I don't want to guess. You go ahead. I mean, I don't know.
I'd rather drag it out. Why oral sex? Just think about it. It's very important. He also talks about how the horrors of the VC, the Viet Cong, what they were doing. He saw several friends of his, GIs, get blown up when a 6-7-year-old child walks up to them. I'm an innocent child. Blow up because the child had explosives attached to him. Killed a lot of his friends. The VC, he would claim, which was validated by other soldiers, would actually chain their children up into the trees, give them one clip of ammunition, and then basically force them to be kamikazes. They'd be chained up in the tree. An American troop, a platoon or whatever would come forward. The kid chained to the tree would have some kind of AK-47, would use his whole clip, kill as many as he can, and then just be stuck in the tree. So obviously he would be shot. So forced kamikaze. One more story about Vietnam, and then we, as I promised you guys, will ruin Jen's weekend.
Oh, how sweet.
If it's not already fucking ruined.
Thank you.
Wow. I thought you forgot about that for a second.
Oh, shit. All right. So this is from Arthur's own words. The other girl in the jungle, I'm going to kind of read it like some New York asshole.
I mean, New Yorkers also ruined my weekend because I'm not from New York. I'm from New England.
Quote, that other girl in the jungle that I killed, where I had taken off her head and placed it on a pole by a creek.
Like St. Thomas More.
I took her and butchered her like a steer, neck down. I had to use the machete and cut on her body down the middle, then cleaved the backbone and washed the blood out. Why? I wish I knew for sure. The same way you cut a deer, I did to that body. Back in 1965, I had a job at Adams Meat Market in New York, just south of Watertown. This is where I learned to butcher 19 cows and bulls each day. It was nothing new to me. Once the outside skin is taken off, who can tell? Yes, I did roast half the body too. About the way a good well-done roast beef is cooked. Almost dry. The meat lasts for days that way. The rest of what I did not take, I placed on a good-sized ant hill. So he's talking about this woman here.
Right.
He skinned her. The ants will do the rest. Who could I talk to understand what I am going through now because of all this? 23 years of stored memories that are bothering me badly. The body of the other woman I placed on another ant mound. I was a sick fool. If we were to take his experiences as reality, which number one, he takes as reality.
Right.
So we have to remember that, even though if they are a little far-fetched, he himself believes this. That's what we do know. So if we were to take them at face value, he has developed this lust for not only killing, but beheading, raping, and cannibalizing humans in Vietnam. We also know that he has lead poisoning. We also know that he was around Agent Orange. We also know that he has an XYY chromosome disorder. So the PTSD issue is another thing with Arthur Shawcross. I'm not saying this guy is warranted for killing all these people. No way am I saying that. But I'm saying that Arthur Shawcross is the first serial killer where they were like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's actually try to figure out why he did this. Does he have any deficiencies? Does he have any disorders? Did he have post-traumatic stress? Does he have anything? That's where I'm basing this episode off.
Right.
So for about a year in Vietnam, he was a torture and killing machine, raping girls and children, mutilating bodies, and even eating the flesh. He was also exposed to a lot of lead. This could lead to lead poisoning, which could cause hallucinations. Dr. Joel Norris says in his book, it is not his job to decide which stories are true or false. Arthur Shawcross tells these stories, and even if untrue, it doesn't matter because Shawcross himself believes them, and that is what matters.
From Dr. Joel Norris, his post-traumatic stress was so pervasive that it left him in a state of emotional anesthesia, psychologically numb, unable to relate to anyone within a normal, functional framework.
When Arthur Shawcross came back from Vietnam, there were only 2 states of existence that he lived in, according to psychiatrists. 2 states. Two states.
What were those?
Homicidal and non-homicidal.
Oh, that's like 50-50.
That is the only states where he lived his life in. All right, let's talk about this boy right here. Can you describe this boy? This is Jack Blake.
But what years were when did he come back from Vietnam?
Well, describe this boy first.
Probably, I would say like 13-ish.
I would say 8 to 10.
Young, white male, Caucasian.
Looks like maybe
dirty
in the 50s
blonde
or
hair.
60s.
Yeah.
Does he look like someone who deserves to be mutilated?
I don't know.
Absolutely not.
It doesn't depend. No.
No one
I would
deserves
say,
that.
Well, yeah, no one deserves to be mutilated.
June 4th, 1972, Kelsey Creek is where we're going. This is in Watertown, New York. This is where Arthur Shawcross lived back with his family, where he grew up. He's fresh out of the war, 27 years old, ready to conquer the world.
Arthur Shawcross?
However, Shawcross has some war trauma that he's dealing with, and he has some childhood trauma that he's never dealt with.
Okay.
And he's coming back. He's being called a baby killer. He is trying to find his way as a 27-year-old in Watertown, New York.
Okay.
And he is very friendly with children. One of the things that makes this killer unique and is important in his psychology, when he is confronted with things that he has done. Okay, you've raped this girl. You murdered this girl. You cut out her vagina. You ate this girl. You ate the vagina. You've done things to this human body. He would resort to baby talk. He goes back to talking like a baby.
Nope.
Like mama dada?
Baby talk, yeah.
I'm not into that.
I don't like that.
It's not that you're into it, but think about how, I'm just gonna be fucking honest. Think about how extremely fucked up that is, right? How fucked that is.
Yeah.
Jen, you mutilated, you raped, you ate, you cannibalized. What do you got to say for yourself?
I don't like that.
Daddy, mommy, goo goo gaga.
Don't like that.
That is baby talk. Is that not the most fucked up thing? Where does that come from? So we're trying to find the root here. I'm done throwing out these words, these psychiatrist words. I'm trying to find the root. What the fuck caused this? All right. What the fuck caused this? June 4th, 1972, Kelsey Creek. This is behind Corky's gas station. William Corky Murock is the owner of the gas station. He's the one that phoned in the cops saying that he saw a man leading a child into the woods. Shawcross, now 27, he was living with his parents in Watertown, New York. He was known through the neighborhood already. Well known, especially to the kids. The kids loved him. Think of Dean Coral. Same thing. The kids loved him.
Right.
He was always there with candy. Arthur Shawcross was the same way. He never really got to become an adult because he was in Vietnam eating and cannibalizing and murdering and raping children. He never learned the responsibility of being an adult. So he gets back and he is more bonded to the children. So he hangs out with mostly the children in Watertown. Jefferson County Sheriff Don Newberry said that Arthur Shawcross was, quote, real creepy. Quote, he was known to stuff grass and leaves down children's pants. Quote, this was a daily thing, Newberry said. Roll around on the ground with them, wrestle with them, hang on to them. He's talking about children, all the town children. Arthur Shawcross loves fishing. In fact, all the bodies that were found were in his favorite fishing spots. One of the remorse from Arthur Shawcross about killing all these prostitutes was dumping them in his favorite fishing spots, because now he's got to go find a new one. He's like, shit, why did I dump her here? I fish here. The cops are going to be here. Why the fuck did I do that? Now I got to find a new fishing spot where no one's around. Every body dump was in one of his favorite fishing spots. He loved to fish. The kids loved to fish. He would joke around with the kids. He was real creepy, joking around with the kids. Quote, known to stuff grass and leaves down children's pants. One neighbor, a Carol Lutz, saw him stuff grass clippings down a 6-year-old's pants when they were quote unquote wrestling, Dean Coral style, wrestling around. Look at this grass. I'm going to stuff it down. Stuff it down your fucking pants. That's funny. And then she saw him try to stuff grass in this 6-year-old's mouth. Open your mouth. Open it. Open it. Swallow it. I'm getting a little too invested in the story.
A little bit. Just a smidge. What the hell's he doing? She remembers asking herself as she watched him wrestle the little boy, Michael Norfolk, to the ground, put grass clippings down his pants, and stuff them into his mouth. Shawcross spanked the child as well.
So we're talking about Jack Blake here. He is a 10-year-old child. This is him one more time. Just to put a face to the name here. Good looking kid, full of life, got his whole life ahead of him. And that's who we're talking about tonight. June 4th, 1972. His body was actually found a few months after that. His body was found at around 3:30 p.m. It was under some removed tree bark. Someone had purposely stripped the tree of some bark and tried to hide the body. Now, the detectives and law enforcement were looking for this kid's body for about 3 months. And they were blaming the parents. They actually were harassing the parents, the Blake family. They thought that they had butchered their child or something. Now, this is before all the prostitute murders. This is right after Vietnam. Before any of the Dorothy Blackburns, the Dotsies, any of that we talked about. This is before. This is right after Vietnam. Arthur Shawcross, he was known in the system for arson.
Oh.
He loved burning down old barns and businesses.
McDonald's triad.
Yeah, right?
He loved burning down stuff. So he was in the system. He was in parole. But they didn't think, why would they come to him? He's not a murderer.
No, not at all.
3:30 p.m. under some bark from a tree, quote, blue bottle flies rose from a rotting lump of flesh. This is what a blue bottle.
Oh, I don't like that.
This is a blue bottle. This is a blue bottle fly. That's what that is.
I would have killed that in my house.
Yep.
It's got to die.
It's actually kind of beautiful. I mean, look at this.
I don't think it's beautiful. I think it's gross.
Well, Jen, you know what?
Yeah, I don't like such things. Get off.
Quote, blue bottle flies rose from a rotting lump of flesh. The slight skeleton of a boy was unclothed. A wisp of blonde hair grew from the middle of the boy's skull.
Oh, no.
Now, this boy would mostly fish with Shawcross, sometimes hunt, too. They were good pals. Now, this was a 10-year-old. He was a local boy.
He was 10?
Yeah, Jen, I showed you a picture like 10 times.
I saw him, but dang.
This was right when this is right when Shawcross got back from Vietnam.
Okay.
He goes back to Watertown with his family. He lives there. This is the first murder besides any of the Vietnam ones that he's done.
Okay.
His story was basically this. Shawcross knew this boy. They fished together. The boy kept pestering him to go fishing. Shawcross was going to a party. It was his stepson's party, I think.
Yeah.
He's going to a party. He didn't have any transportation at the time, so he was walking. This boy, Jack Blake, knocks on the door. I want to go fishing. Listen, I'm going to this party. Maybe another time. So Arthur Shawcross, he walks through the woods, takes the back way, and then sees this boy again. Come on, let's go fishing. Let me go with you. I do what I want.
Yeah.
Quote, and I'm getting real mad. I start swearing at him. I told him, you got to go home. And says, I go where I want to. And I just lost control. I hit him right in the head with my fist. He fell down and I left. Now, there are some inconsistencies with that story. Arthur Shawcross did kill this boy.
Okay.
But I hit him right in the head with my fist. He fell down and I left. There's some inconsistencies there. Remember we talked about the liver mortis?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And how the blood pulls up. The police didn't find this boy's body for 3 months.
Okay.
They know that this body was moved. They know this body was raped.
Yeah.
Post-mortem. They know this body was mutilated post-mortem.
Okay.
They know this body wasn't hit with a fist and left. This body was placed in a spot where no one would find it, where someone could come back and do whatever this man wanted to do to this boy's corpse.
Don't like that.
Well, what do you like, Jen?
Not any of this.
Not this.
None of what Arthur Shawcross has done.
Quote, I hit him. I hit him right in the head with my fist. He fell down and I left. He was going to a party, right? Okay, there's some inconsistencies. First off, the boy's nude.
True.
All right. The coroner, Dr. Richard Lee, suggested that, quote, the child had been forced to undress prior to the homicide and had been forced to run around for a distance before he was killed, or he had undressed after he was killed. He was also sexually molested. So Shawcross, I hit this boy because he was a fucking pest and I left. He's got these big mitt gloves. Yeah, that makes sense. But the boy's clothes were off. He was sexually molested. He was raped.
From author Jack Olson to the officers, the scattered clothing showed that the child had been stripped before death. A knockout tooth found after a search with the screens and forks confirmed that there had been violence. It appeared that Jack Blake had been chased through the thorny brush in a murderous game of cat and mouse. Cinders under the foot and bones indicated that he had reached the railroad tracks before being caught and dragged back to the woods. Every man in the search team recognized the telltale signs of a sadistic murder.
So this is a lot different from this pesty kid was following me. Go home, kid. Punch him in the face and then leave. This is a little different, okay? A cat and mouse game. This boy has been chased through the thorny bush. So this is a little different from this kid pestering him to go fishing and then he hits him in the face.
Yeah.
Now this kid has been chased through a thorny bush. Why was he being chased? Why was Arthur Shawcross chasing this kid?
Why?
This kid almost made it to the railroad tracks.
Except.
And he was, quote, dragged back into the woods. That's a little different from what Arthur said initially. Every man in the search team recognized the telltale signs of a sadistic murder. All right, describe this woman for us. Our girl for us.
Young girl, I'm going to say
Bangs.
still teenager age.
Teenagers, putting it not how it is.
Oh, okay. How is it?
I don't know, Jen. How is it?
You're the one that knows.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
8-year-old Karen Ann Hill.
8? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8?
3 months later, they still haven't found Jack Blake's body yet. 3 months. They're still searching. They haven't found him.
Right.
But like all of Arthur Shawcross's victims, he can continue killing all of these prostitutes and dump them in the same spots while the police investigations are going on, while they're stopping people in their cars. You know, it's like he's not invisible, but for the detectives and the police, it seems like he is. They were still searching for Jack Blake's body when Karen Ann Hill goes missing.
A new victim.
Arthur Shawcross was at the Black River fishing. Sees a little girl come up. Cute little girl.
Yeah.
Karen Ann Hill. She loves fishing. But she shouldn't be out without her parents' permission.
Definitely not.
She definitely shouldn't be out at the Black River by herself.
What about the Genesee River?
And this is the first killing, so there wasn't a serial killer. He wasn't on as a serial killer to the Genesee Ripper, but still, there's snakes out there.
Yeah.
There's stuff that could kill her, harm her.
Yeah. Snapping turtles, seaweed and gross river shit.
So Shawcross becomes the father figure. I mean, you know what? I'm going to approach her and tell her, you should not be out here without your parents' permission. I know you love fishing, but where are your parents?
Yeah. Like I got to teach you how to fish and shit.
This is from Shawcross's own words about the awful deed he did to Karen Ann Hill, a beautiful young child got her life stripped away from her.
And And it was just that moment when I didn't hear nothing around me. And it was like daylight got brighter and I just grabbed this little girl. I raped her. She started crying and bleeding.
Yeah, what the fuck, little girl? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Hold on. This is all right. Before you finish that, and I'll finish this. Before you finish that, let's go back. And it was just that moment that I didn't hear nothing around me. You remember I said that serial killers, they either see red or something happens physiologically where something changes.
Yeah.
For Arthur Shawcross, things go quiet. There are birds and chipmunks and squirrels making noises. I mean, he's fishing. There's the river running. All these noises. The industrial factory a couple miles down the road. All these noises. Go quiet. And then things get brighter. And brighter is better, right? It's like a tree gets greener. It's like you're supposed to be there. Things change for him. Things get brighter. And it was just at that moment when I didn't hear nothing around me. And it was like the daylight got brighter and I just grabbed this girl. Everything was telling him to do it. I raped her. She started crying and bleeding. And then let's go back to where he was playing with children real quick. What was he doing with children? Stuffing grass clippings down their pants? It's so fun. We're wrestling, stuffing grass clippings down your pants. Do you want to know how Kelly Ann Hill died? Her official cause of death?
No, I don't.
Quote, Shawcross then admitted to police that he suffocated her by stuffing leaves, river grass, and mud in her nose and mouth. That's how she died. She died not from being choked, but from being suffocated in her mouth and nose, clogged up, no airflow, can't breathe. With mud, just shit fucking mud, leaves, brown, broken fucking leaves, and river grass. The river grass that deer shit on, just grabs it all and fucking stuffs it right in her mouth and her nose. Stuffs it right in her nose. Fucking, she dies that way. That's how she fucking dies. That is how she dies. She suffocates that way. So when he's playing with kids, when he gets back, I'm stuffing these grass clippings down your pants. It's so much fun. That is how this little girl dies. He stuffs this grass clippings and leaves and mud right down her throat after he rapes her. This is right after Vietnam. He raped her. She was, quote, crying and bleeding. So he strangled her. He would later claim, just like on every other occasion, that he revisited the corpse, just like he did Jack Blake, the 10-year-old 3 months before this. He would revisit the corpse. He would talk to the corpse. If we believe what he says, which I do, he would say he's sorry. He would say that it's not his fault. Vietnam messed him up. He would say his childhood messed him up, which his childhood is pretty rough, which we'll go over next episode. He'll say all this stuff. I'm so sorry. But then he would, even weeks later, on several occasions, rape the corpse of the bodies, and then he would mutilate them, and then he would eat the remains, mostly the genitalia, after death. And the icy weather and the icy rivers help slow the decomposition from the Shawcross letters.
Can I confirm, like, when you say eat?
Eat the pussy. Eat the fucking vagina.
It's cannibalistic.
Yeah. He cuts out the vagina and he eats it.
Thank you.
From the Shawcross letters, quote, frozen pussy is nice to nibble on. One does not need teeth to eat frozen pussy. I just took this shit downhill. We were all having fun. We were laughing. We were having a good old time. And then I brought y'all fucking back.
Regarding the murder of 10-year-old Jake Blake, I cut parts of him out and ate them. I took his penis, balls, and heart and ate them. Why I did this, I don't know. I also had sex with his body. I had sex with all the girls' bodies and even slept with next to them for a while.
He would later claim, just like Jack Blake and the 17 plus prostitutes that he killed, and also just like the little girls and boys in Vietnam that he strangled, he would also perform oral sex on them. He performed oral sex on Kelly Ann Hill, 8-year-old Kelly Ann Hill, on 10-year-old Jack Blake. Why is this man performing oral sex on everyone? What is his obsession with oral sex?
I am curious.
Sodomizing. What is that obsession? obsession. That obsession encapsulates this entire killer entirely. Oral sex encapsulates this
But
killer.
why?
Yeah.
I'll answer that on the next episode.
Oh.
But from Arthur Shawcross's own words regarding the Kelly Ann Hill murder that we just talked about, beautiful little girl, 3 months after, still looking for the body of Jack Blake. From Arthur Shawcross, quote, "Thing was, I couldn't hear no sounds when I saw the girl," Shawcross told his psychiatrist, "and the daylight got brighter, and all I could see was my sister Jeannie. I just remember myself back when I was that same age." Every prostitute that he kills, every one of them, none of them, he had orgasmed, even when they were performing sex and it wasn't about the murder or anything. I told you he had a problem getting hard.
Right.
He had a problem orgasming. He had a problem to orgasm. He could not do it. Even with these children. Well, with Kellyanne, he did orgasm because he saw his sister Jeannie, the only person that can make this serial killer monster Arthur Shawcross orgasm is his own sister by blood, Jeannie.
I was close in my guess.
And we're going to go in depth.
Fuck that.
We're going to go in depth into his childhood, and it is fucked. It is fucked. It is super fucked. But the only person that can make him orgasm is his own sister. The only person. That is why the cops had so much trouble. Why don't you just run DNA, you dumb cops? Well, we don't have any semen. But why don't you have any fucking semen? He's raping these chicks because he didn't fucking come. He didn't orgasm. Why the fuck not? Because he can only orgasm with his sister.
Oh, no.
Or when he's thinking of his sister. That's fucked. I'm saving the best for last, y'all. That's the next episode. Man, we went over a lot of shit with this guy.
Yeah,
I'm talking about cannibalism. I'm talking about necrophilia. I mean, this guy is not even well known. I mean, what the fuck, right? The only person that can make him fucking ejaculate. He's paying for hookers. There is prostitutes on record that has given him refunds for the half and half, has given him full refunds. Oh, I couldn't make you come. I couldn't make you orgasm. Here's a refund. The only one that could make him orgasm was who? His sister. So when all these prostitutes are like, what's wrong with you? Are you gay? Quote, are you a faggot? What the fuck is wrong with you, little man? Well, you're not Jeannie. You're not his sister.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, John.
And I just ruined Jen's weekend.
Yeah, good job.
Jen's weekend is ruined. I hope you guys like that. We'll be on the Discord and one more episode coming up next week. So stay tuned. And until next time, good night, you lovely, lovely people.